Dana and I are so delighted to have this opportunity to introduce you to our friend, Jay Fiset.
Well, you got to know Jay. He is a best-selling author, a student of human nature, an avid outdoorsman at five-star hotels, speaks fluent smartass. Love that one. Yeah. Can see and reflect your life mission in 5 minutes flat. You got to test him on that. Loves having 2 sons so he can play with their toys. Still fantasizes about his wife after 35 years. And I got to tell you, that's awesome because we do the same. Loves ideas, but loves results even more. Can simultaneously laugh and cry for different reasons at the same time. Now that's a talent. And has never been starstruck. He did not get a chance to meet Martin Luther King, and there would have been a teenage girl screaming if he had. Love that.
Jay is also the recipient of the ClickFunnels 2 Comma Club Award. And if you don't know, that's for having one funnel that generates over $1 million in sales and has built multiple 7-figure businesses in the midst of creating a groundbreaking business relationship building platform driven by artificial intelligence. And just to cut back to the chase here, he's the founder of JVology, the perfect mix of people, fun, and profit. And that's how we got to know him. Jay, take it away.
I was going to say, that's a long intro for somebody who doesn't really like big intros. Dana and David, thank you so much for having me. And I am really, really, really looking forward to serving and supporting your tribe and your community to think differently and more strategically about this idea of joint ventures. And I have a short span of time to download and impart what had the single greatest impact and shift for me in the topic of joint ventures. And in our little pre-conversation, this was the thing that really sort of got the two of you thinking about joint ventures in a different manner as well. So let me just give you a 2-second story about why what I'm about to share with you is so darn important and why I hope every single one of you takes the time, the effort, the energy, the thought to put this into play in your business. So historically, I ran a personal development company. It was called Personal Best Seminars. We did that for the better part of a quarter century, so 25 years. About 40,000 people wandered through the doors there. And in that circumstance, I worked like a madman, about 16 hours a day, and it took me 15 years to break 7 figures in annual sales. So it took 15 years of working like a crazy man. When I fully understood what I'm about to share with you, when I started really applying it, which was this, and I'm going to just, plant the seed, upstream, downstream model of building relationships with the ideal JV partners, we had an experience of doing 7 figures, not in 15 years, but in 3 days. And I always say to people, it's like, so if you want to put this in perspective, 15 years to break 7 figures, 3 days, 15 years, 3 days, 15 years, 3 days. I wonder which one we should do.
That is amazing.
Yeah, 3 days is a little bit easier. Now, that didn't happen by accident or any of those sorts of things. That actually was the result of a strategy and a way of building relationships and a way of setting up joint venture partnerships that is incredibly powerful. And that's what I'm going to share here today. Now, before I do this, one of the things that's important to talk about here is that let's just define what a joint venture is. And for our purposes, a joint venture is when 2 or more people or organizations come together. They share their network, their wisdom, their resources, and their experiences to come together to serve their clients better, meaning to solve more of their clients' problems better, and to do so in a manner where they split the rewards of that in a way that is fair and equitable to all parties. So think of it from this perspective, because lots of people are saying, oh, joint ventures, that's where you send emails. Well, maybe, but that is such a minute and tiny approach or thought about JVs. JVs can happen in a multitude of different areas. JVs come in a ton of different circumstances and situations, from as simple as good old school coupons. If you buy something here, I'm going to give you a coupon to go over there, and they track that traffic and reward one another, all the way through to sophisticated digital marketing models like the product launch formula by Jeff Walker, where a bunch of heavy hitters not just send emails, but do co-sponsorships, but have people sell on one another's stages, to all of those things. And quite literally every single thing in between. Okay. So the big picture, 2 or more people or organizations come together, they share network, wisdom, resource, experience, they collaborate to solve their clients better, and they share the rewards of that in a way that works for everybody. So we're not sometimes, just to say what it's not. So it's not just sending emails. It's not in the real estate world, there's a legal entity called a joint venture. That's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about collaboration to serve and support our clients better. So on that note, all of you have seen joint ventures, things like somebody writing a book and saying, hey, would you help me promote the book? And every single person that actually buys the book, there's going to be an upgrade offer. We'll split that upgrade offer with you. Every single one of you has seen somebody who's designed a course, a workshop, a program that says, hey, would you be willing to share my course, workshop, program with your tribe? And if they buy something, I'm happy to share some of the rewards with you. So you've all seen it and you've all participated in it, whether you know it or not. What I want you to do is I want you to start building your business model around it. Because when you do this really well, here's what transpires, is that you end up with a steady stream of perfectly qualified leads at the front end of your business. And these are your ideal clients. And I'll tell you why they're ideal in a moment or two. And that's the front end. These are the people, these are your partners that send you ideal clients. And then at the back end of your business, you also refer people to other people, locations, solutions, all the rest of it. And when they buy that, you get recurring income. So 2 things happen: steady stream of leads, which most businesses struggle with, and then consistent recurring income, which most businesses struggle with. If we deliver those 2 things, then you have what we call the perfect mix of people, fun, and profit, and your business gets 1,000 times easier. Okay, that's the chapter title overview. David, Dana, would you add anything to that before I start diving in and teaching?
Yes, one of the fears I think people have of joint ventures is the idea that I'm going to give away my clients and somebody else is going to benefit and I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, for us, one of the exciting things that we've experienced is been on both ends of it, where we refer someone to someone else and get a check in the mail. And well, it doesn't exactly go through the mail anymore, but
I am tracking you. I still, yes.
and on the other end of the things, have somebody referring people to us and
Sending them money. Yeah, that's the best way. Is you can.
It works
share.
both
And
ways.
It's a win-win-win.
And we both win.
Yeah,
exactly. And in fact, we have something called the JV mindset that I'm not going to teach today just because of our function of time. But the truth of the matter is the single greatest thing that both of you just modeled quite beautifully and perfectly is that to succeed in the world of joint ventures, you have to have an abundance mindset. And if you're worried about your clients going elsewhere, I'm going to say this kind of in a harsh way. It's like, get over it. Because here's the truth of the matter is that every single client comes with a problem, and when it's solved, they're going to look for other solutions. There's this thing called Google. Like you might as well shift from being, and I'm going to talk about this in a moment, shift from being a service provider, which is I solve this one problem, to being a trusted advisor where we help our clients get the best solution to whatever the problem is they're facing. And that might not be us. That might not be us. And we might as well, if we're in the role of trusted advisor, we can move them along to the best solution and still get paid, please hear this, without having to deliver the service. And that money, by the way, gang, all of the money that gets sent to us in that process is pure profit. We don't have fixed costs. We don't have variable costs. We don't have delivery costs. We don't have any of those sorts of things. It's one of the reasons why joint ventures are so fantastic is that we can just add money directly to the bottom line in our profit margin, which most of us could use some help with that. So yes, 100%. But it relies on having an abundance mindset. Okay, so gang, I'm going to dive in and
you're dropping so much value.
Okay, I had this thought. It's like, here we are 4.5 hours later, because once I get going,
oh, we'll be over there cutting you off, and we'll just end the webinar. You'll know it's been too long.
Awesome. Okay, so let me get my PowerPoint up here, and we're going to step folks through what we call your joint venture top 20 or your JV top 20. And what I want you all to really sort of wrap your head and heart around as we go through this is that we are big believers in the JV top 20. And what this means is 10 partners, 10 upstream partners that send us perfectly qualified leads, 10 downstream partners that we send our folks to once they've had our product, service, or experience. Now, the best way to think about this is this gray line that you're looking at, that is your ideal client's life journey. Now, I want to be clear about this, is that there's lots of work around the client's journey when they're with you. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the reality of this simple truth, which is your clients had problems before they ever knew or cared about you. Your clients will have problems long after you are done working with them. And instead of focusing, what most people do, and by the way, that little blue dot in that arrow is where your client's journey and their problems intersect with the solution that you have. Okay. Now, most of us as entrepreneurs suffer from tunnel vision. Okay, so we get really great at the problem that we solve. In fact, I sometimes call it the magic trick. And please understand, I'm not trying to demean it in any way, shape, or form, but each of us has our magic trick, that thing that we can just do like this, and we love doing it, and it solves a real problem, and it makes a difference in the world. And when we do it, it feels fantastic. And if we do it really well and build a decent business around it, we get to make some money. Like, how great is that? We get to make some money doing stuff we love. Now, the drawback is that most of us are so attached to our magic trick that we're a little bit like a horse with blinders on. And we go through our life and through our world looking like, hey, have you got the problem I solve? No. Have you got the problem I solve? No. You've got the problem I solve. Except you don't know that. How about you? Do you have the problem you solve? Great, you do. Oh, but you got no money. So we end up with this blinder process on. And the way I like to think about it is that it's a little bit like, I'll use the metaphor of fishing. It's a little bit like we get our single fishing rod out, we put our hook on the end of the line, we put our little bit of bait out, and we're out there casting at the side of the river, hoping that a fish or a client is going to come by with the problem of whatever it happens to be, see our bait and go, hey, I want to do that. And does it work? Of course it works to some degree, or people wouldn't continue to do it. Does it work really well? Not so much. In fact, statistics say this, is that almost 2/3 of businesses in North America make less than $100,000 a year gross sales. 2 out of 3. And the honest goodness truth is that is not enough money for most businesses when you consider that not only do I have to find the client, deliver the service, handle the administration, do all of the accounting, pay all of the taxes, handle all of the marketing, handle all of the advertising, all sorts of things. That's when, I'll use Canadian dollars. By the way, I'm Canadian, if you hadn't figured that out from my accent about being oot and a boot. If you live in Canada, you could simply go to Starbucks and manage a store for $82,000 a year. And most people are banging their heads in their own business, not getting anywhere near that with a hell of a lot more expenses. So I want to be clear about this. Yes, it works, but not anywhere near as well as it should. So here's my request to you, and this is why we're teaching this entire process, is that instead of the blinders on, and instead of one single little fishing pole with a hook and bait on it, what I want everyone to just imagine is, what if you could just take like 3 monumental steps back to not just see your client when they have the problem you solve, but to see your client before they need you, like long before, a little bit before, just before, and then when they need you. And then after they need you, what else do they need? What other problems, what other services, what other experiences do they require? And this, seeing our client, our ideal client's life journey, changes everything. Now, here's the thing that I want you to consider. Depending upon your business, okay? Depending upon your business, right this very second, as you're listening to me talk about this, there are 1,000 people, 10,000 people, 100,000 people, 1 million people discovering or creating the problem that you solve right this very second. Just imagine you're a business coach. Right this very second, particularly even magnified more by COVID, right this very second, there are thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people making the decision to start a business. They are quite literally causing the problem that you can help them solve. So here's the thing. Instead of looking for somebody who has the problem, the idea with joint ventures is simply this. Why don't we get really clear about what people are doing before? What courses are they going to? What programs are they attending? What are they reading? Where are they hanging out? What are they getting certified in? All those pieces. So we want to really understand what's going on before. And we'll come back to after in a moment or two. But what we want to do is to go to the people, the places, the organizations, the structures that our ideal clients are engaged with before they need us. And we go and we say to those folks like, hey, I know that you help people start businesses. And this could be, by the way, to an accountant. This could be to a lawyer who's incorporating. This could be to a coaching certification program. This could be to a, you insert the blanks. They help people start businesses. This could be to a software platform like ClickFunnels, who, hey, you're just one funnel away, but they're trying to help people start a business. And we say to them, look, you do a great job at creating software and funnels. That's great, but you don't necessarily handle all of the strategy and requirements that are necessary to build a business. Why don't you refer your clients that it's a fit for to me? I will serve and support them to continue to build the business. And in so doing, by the way, continue to subscribe to your software. And when somebody buys something, we will send you back a reward. This is the money. This is exactly what Dana and David were talking about a moment or two ago, which somebody sent us a client. We converted them into a paying client and we sent that reward back to them. This is the front end. This is what we call the upstream. And if you think about it from this perspective, if you're standing at a river with your fishing rod, upstream is here, and the river is coming this way, going past you, okay? So this is what is going on before. Now, the better we are at identifying who are our perfectly in alignment upstream partners, we quite frankly solve lead generation. Please hear this now and forever. Because the people who arrive know they have the problem. It's like, great, I bought or I started my coaching business, but now it's not really working out as well as I'd like. What I really need is some assistance on structure, marketing, messaging, conversions, like you insert the blanks. Great, that's exactly what we do. We can help you with that. So that is the front end. And please understand this. Your best upstream partners, and this is the part I ask you to write down, they either create the problem you solve, diagnose the problem you solve, or reveal the problem that you solve. Those are your ideal partners. And when it's perfectly lined up, we say that those partners are perfectly in stream. Sometimes it's a bit of a reach and doesn't match up exactly right. It can still help, but when they are perfectly in stream, they show up and they say, hey, I've got this problem building my business. The person that I just actually incorporated with said, you help with that stuff. Could you talk to me about it? And if you're reasonably grounded and you don't piss them off, generally speaking, you've got this thing called a customer. So that's the front end. Now, let's also be clear about this. Every single time you do your magic trick, every single time you solve a client's problem, you generate somewhere between 3 to 7 additional new problems / opportunities. Okay. And by the way, if my dear wife were here, she would say some of us we create more than 7. Now, on a serious note, just think of it this way. So for us at JVology, if somebody comes and says, hey, I'm going to redesign my business so that we utilize joint ventures. Well, one of the problems that we cause is lots of people don't have a customer relationship management system that is affiliate enabled, that helps us track where a referral comes from, how much we should pay people, when we should pay people, all those things. So the new problem is, great, now I need a CRM that does affiliate tracking. Well, that's where we refer them to some of our friends at ClickFunnels, Infusionsoft, a whole variety of others, Keep, all the rest of it. So we know, by the way, when we really get intimate and understand our ideal client's life journey, we know what they deal with next. Many of our clients come and it's like, great, I want to do that. But what I need to create is a digital course, a way for people to get a taste of us, a way for us to reach a broader audience, a way for us to break the time for money bind. It's like, great. We then refer people to Alina, who helps with courses, Danny, who helps with courses, Dr. Carrie Rose, who helps with courses. And by the way, we do that based upon what is going to solve their problem best, because each of those has different strengths and different capacities. And by the way, when we send those folks to our partners in that domain and they convert them into clients, they send us money. Okay. That's the pure profit, because we don't have to deliver. We don't have to manage. We don't have fixed or variable costs. It goes directly to the bottom line. This, my friends, if you truly, genuinely get this, you're building relationships with people that cause, reveal, or diagnose the problem that you solve, and you're building relationships with people and organizations that solve the problems that you create, you get a steady stream of leads at the front end, you get recurring passive income at the back end. And when those two things happen, you get to do this. This might actually work, and I might actually make some real money, and I might actually have some real freedom, and I might actually be able to make the contribution in the universe that I know I'm meant to make. So that's the big picture. I'll give you more specific examples momentarily. Dana, David, anything you'd like to add or tweak or adjust to that?
I would say that's really been the big pivot we have made in this last year, was going from getting all our leads on, well, we started on Twitter and then on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and all those. And yes, you can get leads on all of those. You can get clients on all of them. But this has been a major turning point for our business, and we think it can be for you as well, and really bring that steady flow that you've been dreaming of.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
I'm going to share this here briefly so they can see what we're doing. Because in the next stage here, gang, what I want us to do is not, this doesn't work just at a theoretical level. This works at a practical, tactical level when we can begin to put faces, names, people, organizations that we should be building relationships with, and then we go through that process. Let me just share with you what we call the top 20 worksheet. And this is what we're going to send you so you can actually play with it. And the JV Top 20 worksheet, first of all, just has a little reinforcement of our upstream and our downstream and how this whole thing works. And then a list of the 10 people, places, organizations that are before us, that these are the places that we're going to go, and we're going to say, hey, you do a great job at X, but you don't do Y, which is what I do. Why don't you send your folks here? And if any of them purchase, I'm going to send you money. You make pure profit on this. Let me help you to help your clients better. Okay, that's the upstream. And then the downstream is all those folks that you know your clients are going to need after they deal with you. And I should just give, just to be clear, sometimes it's not after. It's not like you're done with them. Sometimes like, look, for this solution to be rolled out properly, you need X. Go get that so that we can do this. But it's for the purposes of explaining it, sometimes it's easier to say before, during, after, even though there's sometimes overlap in all of those pieces. So we're going to get you this, and I'm going to give you some examples. And when I'm giving you the examples, even if you don't have the sheet in front of you right now, I want you to start writing down specific people, specific organizations, specific associations that fit the bill of being upstream partners. And just to be clear about this, they reveal, they diagnose, or they cause the problem that you solve. So I'm going to give you some specific examples of things that are true for JVology, so you can actually see it in living color. Okay, so what I'm sharing here is exactly the same thing that I just showed you a moment or two ago, but I want to give you some examples for us of upstream partners and downstream partners. We're going to focus first on upstream. And I want to say this, is that upstream partners are fantastic. I love them, but it generally takes a little bit more time to build the relationships of trust and faith with them before they're going to participate with you. It is usually easier to get a downstream partner than it is an upstream partner. That said, build the relationship. We have a couple of values well, we have a lot of values at JVology, but one of them is that a joint venture is a game of I'll go first. So sometimes to get your upstream JV partners, you have to contribute, you have to connect, you have to make a difference, you have to become relevant, you have to build a relationship. You got to put some time, effort, energy into this. And by God, it is worth it, because the time that it takes you to get one great upstream JV partner is usually about the same time that it takes you to get one customer. Except instead of getting one customer, they can send you 10, 20, 100, or 1,000 customers over a span of years. So it's one of the greatest high leverage activities you can do in your entire life. So for us, some of our great upstream partners for JVology is Infusionsoft or Keep. We discovered early on that Infusionsoft and Keep has one of the better affiliate tracking components or affiliate tracking capabilities of CRMs available anywhere. But we also discovered that very few people who used Infusionsoft and Keep were actually utilizing the affiliate tracking component. So we did some joint venture sponsorship back and forth. I spoke at their partner con, and the whole aim was, look, You're already in there doing the work. Why don't we help your clients understand how to use this module and how to make more money utilizing Infusionsoft? So they sent us a whole ton of users who were ready to get more out of the software. So just to be clear about this, Infusionsoft served and supported entrepreneurs. All of the entrepreneurs who buy basically systems and automation. And then it was like a component of the systems and automation that they didn't know how to use. We taught them how to use. So they revealed the problem that we solved, making them perfect partners. I trust that makes sense. Let's use Startup Grind. Startup Grind is an interesting global community of entrepreneurs. They have think of them as meetups all over God's green earth. It's one of the largest entrepreneurial communities on planet Earth. And Startup Grind does incredibly well at a variety of pieces, which is education, networking, all the rest of it. But again, doesn't set up the JV relationships in a manner where people can actually monetize them, including the hosts of the individual cities. So we had a whole whack of people who were hosts saying, hey, I love doing this. This is great, but the money side of it isn't really spectacular. Is there a way in which we could monetize this better? Hell yes. Let's actually set up the upstream and the downstream model for the relationships that you are building in this organization. So quite frankly, Startup Grind did a beautiful job of getting the leader, building the community, all of those pieces. But then people are going to say, oh, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of time, all the rest of it for not necessarily much monetization. So they revealed or caused the problem that we solved, which is how to monetize your network in a more powerful, meaningful manner. So again, ideal upstream partners. Internet Marketing Party. Now, these folks generally get, and this is a gentleman named David Gonzalez. He's been doing events for years. These are digital marketers. Most of them have a very transactional approach. You know, it's like earnings per click, and there's a whole world there about this transactional approach. But what happens is that if you do it that way, you're in this constant churn of trying to find partners. And our approach is just a little bit different. We believe in relationships and that we are better together. So what transpired was that they understood JVs, but they had the problem of churn. And we show up and we say, well, wait a second, why don't we just think differently about this? And why don't we actually build long-term relationships that you can count on, not just this year, but for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And we can stop the churn and you get to make more money with people that you really like. And it was like, sounds like a good idea. Like, who'd have thunk? But again, you can see that even in that circumstance where the internet marketing, they get joint ventures, but there's still often a problem that we uniquely solve through this thing called building meaningful relationships. Thinkific, this is a great one. They have quite literally something like 25,000 users. Many of those users have created courses that are being hosted that don't have any eyeballs. Nobody knows that they're there. Nobody has seen them. So Thinkific embedded a bunch of our content as a strategic partner, embedded a bunch of our content that then said, hey, gang, if you finish the program and now you'd like people to know about it, you should go over to JVology, where Jay's going to introduce you to 500 people who are interested in what you do. And each of those 500 people have lists of 500 people to 50,000 people. It's a good way to get seen. And of course, the problem they have is my course is done, but I'm not selling it because nobody can see it. We say, well, let's help it get seen. So we solve that problem. ClickFunnels is another great one. ClickFunnels builds pages and a variety of things for marketing. But again, once the funnel is built, once the sales page is done, all those things, they need people to see it. And we solve that problem of delivering ideal traffic through lead sharing and joint ventures. So I hope at this stage of the game, you can begin to see how each and every one of our upstream partners causes the problem we solve, reveals the problem we solve, or diagnoses the problem that we solve, which makes it super easy for them to say to their tribe, their community, it's like, hey, you want more traffic? Let me introduce you to Jay over at JVology. They will get traffic for you, or some version thereof. Dana, David, anything to add about the upstream piece?
No, I like how you did say that it is more difficult to get people to trust you right out of the bat, right off the bat, but it's worth it to build those relationships. And that's what we should be doing anyway in our business, is building relationships.
I wholeheartedly agree. And the funny thing about this, I literally just jumped off our team meeting. And I mean, I'm on there with people that I have done joint ventures with. I have been their customer. They've been my customer off and on for like 22 years. Like I'm just deeply grateful for that. But that is a result of a long-term view, a leveraged approach, and a relationship that actually works. Every single one of you can do that. All right. So let's imagine all these people who are my upstream have sent people to me, and we have got a ton of clients, and we help them decide they want to do joint ventures, redesign their business model, get their affiliate track, all right, they're ready to roll. And now it's like, okay, I'm going to do this. And the truth of the matter is, I mean this in all seriousness, joint venturing, while simple, is not necessarily easy. And we should not confuse those two things. Okay. So what I mean by that is like, yeah, so we need a CRM, and that CRM needs to track affiliate actions. And we need to provide tools to our JV partners to make it as easy as possible for them. Okay. Simple, not necessarily easy. So, which is why at the top of our list is Brad and Michelle of Awareness Strategies. So, by the way, and these are the folks that we've been doing work together for over 22 years. They handle the tech for me. Now, just to be clear, I know what needs to be done, but if you had to rely upon me to get it done, we would all be dead. Like that's not my wheelhouse. Is not my strength. I would, it's just not my thing. So for me and for most people, when it comes to this piece, it is, unless you are uniquely qualified, and unless you love diving in and learning software, and unless you love all those mechanical details, and it's what keeps you up at night with a smile on your face, said no one ever. You should simply hire that out. So the top of our list is, if you're going to do this, get support so you don't get lost in the what we call the tech quicksand. And I refer them to Brad and Michelle. When those folks become clients, Brad and Michelle send me money or do work for me on trade. Infusionsoft, ClickFunnels, all those sorts of things. Most of the time, people need a tool that is going to work, that tracks this stuff to make it as easy as possible. And that is where we use a variety of different tools, and we make a variety of different recommendations. Please hear this, based upon the stage of development of the client and what's going to work best for them. It is not, and I want to be really clear about this, this goes back to the JV mindset. And think of it like a Venn diagram. I always said abundance is the first and most important. The next is client needs. And here's the deal. If you're going to joint venture, do not joint venture with your needs in mind. Meaning, and here's a great example of that, is that I'm an Infusionsoft user. That doesn't mean everybody's ready for Infusionsoft. It is overkill for some folks. So that's why we have other things that we look at and at times recommend and say, look, this is going to be a starter package at some stage of the game. If you run into a mid 6-figure or a 7-figure business, you're going to have to upgrade and change and all those sorts of things. But these are the choices. So we don't pick, who pays us best. That's not how we go about this. We choose, what do our clients need, and how do we recommend what we believe is best for them based upon what they're telling us. So that's where we have Influencersoft. I'm a big believer, if you're going to do joint ventures, you should be a member of a bunch of joint venture communities. So JVology, which I would love for each and every one of you to come and play with us, attend one of our live events, come hang out in the Global Lounge, do all that stuff. But you know what? We're just one. We participate in something called the Marketers Cruise, which is a 10-day cruise. Happens, well, I was going to say every year. Didn't happen last year because we know the weirdness of the world right now. But on an annual basis, 300, 400 folks come together and go cruise the Caribbean, generally speaking, and do joint venture deals and build joint venture relationships. We are huge fans of the Marketers Cruise, and that's how that goes. Lots of people, by the way, downstream is like, great, I want to scale my business and I want to learn how to speak. I always send them to my dear friend, Jane Powers, who is a rock star of epic proportions. And then we also have, in the same way as Thinkific has people who've finished courses who then need help with traffic. Sometimes we have folks who, I've got a great coaching practice, I've got a bit of intellectual property, all those sorts of things, but I want to package it and put it in a course that makes it easy to joint venture with. We refer them to Thinkific, we refer them to Kajabi, we refer them to a variety of places, again, based on their needs. So your task, gang, is to get really clear on the upstream, who causes, reveals, or diagnoses the problem I solve. And then on the downstream, what are the problems that I create? What are the problems that I cause, and how can I create a referral list with a joint venture arrangement that I can hand my clients over to, and you make sure that they do such a great job that if it was your mom, you'd be thrilled to hand your mom over to them. And you help, please hear this, solve your clients better and make more money. And that, my friends, is the JV Top 20 in a nutshell. And your task is to go and make this list, start reaching out with those folks. And if you do make the list, and it's like, then what do I do? Where do I find these folks? How do I have these conversations? You come hang out with us at JVology Live. You download what we call the Joint Venture Success Wheel, which is a complimentary gift that will get you a whole bunch more traction in terms of how to build the steps for this. And you know what? I think one of the biggest pieces of this is just to let go of the idea that business has to be hard, that I have to be busy, that we have to struggle. Let's set that stuff aside. This could be the perfect mix of people, fun, and profit. And that's exactly what we stand for. And by my standards, I'm a little bit long, but I squeezed it in.
You did awesome.
Very helpful, Jay. We really appreciate this.
Yes, I think we've had some minds blown from people that have heard this. I mean, because you make it sound simple. And by giving the examples, I think people can really resonate with that. They know exactly what problem they create, or they should anyway, and know that they don't have to know everything. I think that was an aha moment when we attended JVology Live for the first time, was, we don't have to know it all. We just have to know who knows what we don't know.
Correct.
And find those people, and then build relationships with those people. And as we've been working with people, that need things outside our wheelhouse, it's beautiful to already have these relationships built. So you can say, oh, I'd love to introduce you to my friend so-and-so. They
Yes.
can help you build a website. We don't do that. We can do that, but we don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
And I think you just hit the nail on the head, Dana, with that. You know that you're operating from an abundant spot where it's like, yes, I could do that, but the person who's best at it is over there. And I want you to have the best solution possible. And I always say to people, it's that point at which somebody has their credit card out and you say, I'm actually not the best person for it. I want to introduce you. That's when you know you're standing in that space of abundance.
Yes. And that speaks volumes to them as well, that you're not just money hungry for their money and you're going to take it no matter what. And I think I love time and productivity so much that it gives people freedom, that they don't have to know everything. Yeah. And you don't have to be an expert at everything. And if there are things you hate doing and you find yourself procrastinating over and over because you don't want to do it, find somebody else who's a genius at it.
Yes.
They'll be happy to help you.
And that has happened to us again and again when we got to something and I know exactly what the next step is. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, I'm not getting it done.
Weeks and weeks go by. I'm like, are you getting that done? No. I'm like, well, hire it done then.
100%. 100%.
Well, thanks so much for your time and the incredible value that you've given to our people. You bet.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me, and good luck. We'll see you soon.
Okay.
Sounds great. Take care.
Bye-bye.